Hello, hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Speak of Africa. We thank you for watching our show. Special thanks go to our subscribers. Our numbers continue going up. Soon we're going to hit the 60,000 subscriber mark. Thank you very much for your loyalty. When we started this show, we did not even have a single subscriber. But now, thanks to you, we're getting more people watching. We're encouraging you to watch more because we're bringing you the news that you will not really find on most other channels. We're bringing you news from an African perspective. This week, much of the news that we're going to bring to you has to do with Africa burning, violence. Why is violence happening in Africa? There are so many reasons. Some of you are asking for answers, and it's the purpose of this show to provide answers. You're asking about bandits, kidnappers. Why is this very rampant in Africa, and why is it that nothing is being done? Well, the answer, as you're going to see with the illustration I'm going to give you using a few countries, is because the Western powers feel Africa is a plantation, is a farm. The Western world, by contrast, is a factory. So they have to collect raw materials from the farm to run in their factories. That's all what they care about. They only care about their mercenary interests. They don't care about the African people. And this is what Africans need to understand. The borders that were created in Africa were colonial borders. The borders were created to serve colonial interests. Today, most of these borders are anachronistic. So they should not really be in Africa today, but they remain in Africa. So this legacy is creating a lot of conflict and violence. Okay? We've given you the backdrop you can use to understand the African problems of today. The big story is bandits and kidnappers in Nigeria. This is not an isolated case. Since the Chibok girls were abducted, kidnapping and banditry has become a normal way of life in Nigeria. And we're thinking that, oh, Mr. Buhari, Muhammadu Buhari, will come and solve the problem. He came after 8 years of sitting and doing nothing. Kidnappers and bandits are still running Nigeria, and they are happy with their loot. Bola Tinubu has come. The people were hopeful that he's going to do something to fight insecurity in Nigeria. But what has he done? He has not really done much. In fact, the problem is even worsening. The bad guys are killing people. This week, the biggest story is the Kaduna kidnapping. The numbers continue to rise from 150. Now we're hearing about 300 school kids were kidnapped in the morning as they were getting ready to study for class. Then the guys who say, oh, Western education is bad. These kids were not really kidnapped because of Western education. They were kidnapped because it's good business to kidnap people in Nigeria. Bandits know that it makes a lot of money. When you kidnap people, you ask for ransom. So it's a thriving economy. For those who want to understand what is happening in Nigeria, it is fertile soil for kidnappers. When you kidnap people, their families and the government pays ransom. So most of these bad elements know this since the day of the Chibok girls kidnapping. So they are trying to ply their trade to kidnap more. The more they kidnap, the richer they become. Okay? So they don't really care about human life. It's sad. When you look at all these people, it's a big deal. They are killing people, but their goal is to make money. We were thinking that the Nigerian government should understand the way of the West. The World Bank and most of the multinational corporations, they still look at Africa like a farm. They are the factory. They just want to collect the raw materials, take them to the factory, produce finished goods, then ship them all over the world and make big money. They don't really care about the people of Africa. Whether they are killing themselves, that's their problem. The West does not care. And that's why, as big as Nigeria is, you still have these Western guys playing games. Since the days of colonialism, the Western world always chooses the leaders in most African countries. They always install a strong man who is really a puppet of the West. This puppet guarantees is like a caretaker. He takes care of the farm of the Western world. Okay? So long as he's delivering the goods to his masters in the West, they'll keep him in power. But if he rebels, then the Western world will tell you, oh, this guy is a dictator, he's a bad guy. But if he's their boy, they'll never complain that he's a dictator. Then this guy will stay in a palace in the capital city where there's security. By contrast, when you go into the hinterland, where other people, the rural areas, there is no security. So the people just pay for services to the government, but they don't really benefit from citizenship because they are isolated in a wasteland like in a forest. So anything can happen to them. There is no infrastructure. That's the way you need to understand what is happening in Africa and Nigeria, for example. After the Kaduna kidnapping, we hear in Sokoto state there's been another kidnapping. Why? It's because there is no infrastructure. In most of those places where this kidnapping is taking place, the places don't have any security. The security forces are far, far, far away. Far. Whenever this happens, sometimes there's no phone. There's no way for the people to call the government and complain. You will notice that whenever this kidnapping is taking place, the kidnappers have free rein. Nobody challenges them. But if we come up with a good solution, especially when we look at what is happening in Nigeria, Kashim Shettima says he's the VP of Nigeria, but they've been calling him the godfather of Boko Haram and kidnappers. If he is serious, if he has a will to solve the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, Kashim Shettima should work with his boss to come up with a plan. Okay? This plan would be just like the Yorubas were using the Amotekun in their own area. Create a vigilante group. Create some forces. These people cannot just sit quietly and wait to be killed by bandits and kidnappers. They need to fight back. They need to create a structure to protect themselves. Probably they may even need to be armed. If it costs too much money to pay soldiers to take care of schools and places of worship, then the people should organize for their own security. It means the people might have to actually take the law into their own hands. That's what things look like today. If they do not do that, they will continue facing the brunt of kidnappers and the people you call bandits. For these guys, kidnapping is good business. You make a lot of money when you engage in it. If you have a regular job, how many nairas can you make in a month? But kidnappers make so much money. Some of you guys have sent us videos showing the way some of these kidnappers enjoy the spoils of their loot. When they kidnap, they steal a lot of resources. Cows, pigs, chicken, they steal all of this stuff and go to their own area and enjoy. While the families who have lost people are crying. So it's very, very sad. We need to come with a plan. Insecurity is not limited to Nigeria. Insecurity is also rife in Ambazonia. Some people were telling you, oh no, the independence of Ambazonia is dead. The Ambazonia Restoration Forces have been defeated. No, that's a lie. I know a few days ago, Cameroon just celebrated Women's Day. There was a lot of fanfare. But beneath, we need to understand there's something happening. The Ambazonia Restoration Forces are exporting their dream for independence and their anger at Nigeria to the Cross River area. There's news in Nigeria about this already, so I'm not just telling you what doesn't exist. Read the news headlines, look at the Nigerian newspapers. Cross River now is facing the brunt of Ambazonia Restoration fighters. Why? These Ambazonia Restoration fighters feel like Nigeria is to blame for their problem. If Nigeria, we need to have a roadmap where the people can see that they can have a better future. In La République du Cameroon, that future does not exist. This week, We just saw Anthony Joshua beat Francis Ngannou like a kid. This is the same Francis Ngannou who went to Ambazonia and made fun of Ambazonians. But today, the Ambazonia fans are looking at the falling Francis Ngannou. Then what about the Kim Kardashian connection? Well, a lot of people are saying that Francis Ngannou was beaten so badly by Anthony Joshua because he was wasting too much time worrying about Kim Kardashian. Some of you must have heard about Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is an American actress, business lady. She makes a lot of money because she targets wealthy black guys, starting with Kanye West. I think they have probably like 4 children who were married for like 10 years. You know this already if you watch social media. Kim Kardashian is always on social media. So, but she made so much news this week because of the Francis Ngannou connection. Is this fact or fiction? Is she interested in Francis Ngannou, or she's just playing games trying to look for attention? And people are talking a lot about this, especially now that Francis Ngannou has lost the fight. Just watch for a moment the way Francis Ngannou was hit very badly in this fight. This is big disgrace. The guy did not even know what hit him. Watch for a minute. Aha! Thanks for watching. Okay? But in La République du Cameroon, the main story remains. Women too are also marching because the women are fighting for their own freedom. Okay? Then, of course, the case of Martinez Zogo has exposed the Cameroon government. People are now saying that this is a government that spies on its own people, and the surveillance elements, DGRA, Maxime Eko, Belinga Amogu, they are all bad guys who use this network and the security apparatus of the country to spy and kill people. So that's the sad part with the government investigation. It has laid bare the wickedness of the Biya regime. But it looks like this Biya regime is really coming to an end. Don't mind the fanfare. Chantal Biya can come out looking great like a beautiful first lady, but the days of this regime are numbered. Already the Betis are fighting among themselves. Heavy fighting. Every day we see them fighting. But let Mr. Biya cover his eyes the way it will happen in the next few days. The fighting is going to be ferocious. So if you are spending time in La République du Cameroon, be very careful because you are playing Russian roulette with your life. Okay? Next, we take you to the Central African Republic. The United States of America is imposing sanctions on the regime of Ashanti Touadera. Why? Because the United States doesn't like the way Ashanti Touadera has been cozying up to Moscow, Vladimir Putin, and the Wagner group. In fact, a lot of Americans are calling Ashanti Touadera now Mr. Wagner, President Wagner, because he's beholden to the Wagner group that is really supporting him militarily. Wherever Ashanti Touadera goes out there, he has those Russian forces protecting him. Without that, he would have been killed a long time ago. Next, we take you to Congo DRC. Things are really hard in Congo DRC. There's a city called Nyankale. We told you already that in the east, there's fighting that has been going on for such a very, very long time. What are we going to do with this fighting? The fighting is over resources, the sharing of resources. People may not know what is going on in the east. The problem is the fight for resources. There are a lot of natural resources in the east, gold, cobalt, and the M23 movement of March 23, 2009. That's when the rebel group was formed. The peace treaty that they signed with the Congolese government did not hold, so they decided to use this date to commemorate and name themselves. Now they are the most powerful rebel group. They've taken over Nyankale, which is a city in the east. So much fighting is going on, and they've taken this city away from Felix Tshisekedi's government forces. Kabila's Tshisekedi's forces are very weak, very, very weak. Okay? What are they doing? They are not really doing much. Felix Tshisekedi makes a lot of noise. He can win the election, but let him win the fight against the M23. The foreign powers like Britain, France, and the United States, they are now against the M23 and Rwanda. But what are they going to do about it? The way we see it, Felix Tshisekedi needs to do something. He cannot just sit quietly. It looks like this fight is too big for him. And that's why the SDAC may have to come to his aid, because he cannot really fight this fight. Okay? He cannot really fight this fight. But a lot of innocent people are dying. Just like we told you about what was happening in Nigeria, a lot of innocent people losing their lives. Many innocent people in Congo DR are losing their lives. Even those refugees who have been in camps, they are now being displaced because of the violence of the M23 rebel movement. Okay? From the M23 in Congo, we take you now to Ivory Coast. In Ivory Coast, we understand that former President Laurent Gbagbo is running for president again. Come on. This guy ran the country for over 11 years. He did not want to give up power. This resulted in a big civil war. He spent time in The Hague. After a while, he returned home. He was pardoned by his successor, Alassane Ouattara. His wife abandoned him. And the wife felt this guy was really a weakling. She felt that she was the power behind the throne. So now that Laurent Gbagbo does not have the wife who was his power, how is he going to be able to run the country? People were saying that the wife was in charge of the death squads. So she was a powerful lady, like Lady Macbeth. But today, Laurent Gbagbo does not have her. So are there no other people in Ivory Coast who can run for president? Why is it that they have to recycle this guy, bring him back again and again? That's a problem in Africa. What's he going to be able to do for the people? Nothing. He's just going to be there and serve colonial interests. And that's the problem we face in the entire Africa. This guy will come and stay there and serve French interests. The youth of Ivory Coast wants to get rid of the French, just like the youth in the Sahel region. When we talk about the Sahel region, I'm referring to Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, and Niger. They want to get rid of the French. Get rid of the French franc, the French language, and everything. But people like Laurent Gbagbo, they will cozy up to the French because they learn how to speak French, study history. But the problem remains. France looks at Ivory Coast like a farm. France is a factory. So we have to use this metaphor of a farm and a factory. You get the raw materials from the farm, you take them to the factory, you process them, then you sell finished products all over the world, make big money, while the people in Ivory Coast get almost nothing. Ivory Coast is the biggest exporter of coffee. Okay? Coffee, cocoa, they are the biggest exporter. But can they process coffee and cocoa in Ivory Coast? No. They have to ship it to the international market, where you have factories over there. They process it, then turn around and sell chocolate to poor Africans. Oh no. Then of course, life remains in Abidjan, where you have a beautiful city. Most of the interland, the rural areas, you don't have much going there. So this becomes fertile ground for terrorists. And that's the problem we face in Africa. We want this metaphor of a farm and a factory to end. Africa should not just be the farm where you get raw materials to take to European factories. Most African governments are colonial in their way of thinking. We need new thinking so that the resources of Africa, the raw material, should be processed in Africa so that Africa can make more money from it. Then you should export the finished product abroad. That would be a better plan for Africa. If this happens, Africa will move ahead. Insecurity will not be rife the way it is now.
Tired of waiting in long lines at the emergency room or your doctor's office? You should be. Why wait in long lines for care? It's time for you to come to Lucille Urgent Care. Real care, no waiting. Lucille Urgent Care, the best place for true and loving care. Service at Lucille Urgent Care is convenient, fast, time-efficient, affordable, accessible, transparent, and cost-effective. Royal treatment is your right. Indeed, it's not just a privilege or pejorative. Skip the emergency room's long lines, kiss the ER goodbye, say farewell to your old doctor's office, pay less, save time, enjoy the excitement of convenience, receive immediate treatment, get the healthcare you need quickly and affordably. Lucille Urgent Care offers many express services: rapid COVID-19 testing, on-site prescription, preventative lab services, imaging and x-rays, urgent medical treatment for common illnesses and injuries, routine vaccines and flu shots, work-related injury services, pre-employment, occupational, annual, and sports physicals, immigration exams, and much more. Same-day treatment, rapid lab results, extended hours, weekend hours, no appointment necessary, no insurance necessary, no doctor necessary, walk-ins accepted, telemedicine available. We are open 7 days a week with evening and weekend hours. We are located in Maryland. Lucille Urgent Care, 903 Half York Road, Towson, Maryland, 21204. Website, lucilleuc.com. Call at 443-275-1286 or 301-593-4897.
Next, we take you to Rwanda. Rwanda has been having a lot of issues, a lot of security issues, fighting with Congo DRC. Felix Tshisekedi even declared when he was running for re-election that he's going to invade Rwanda. We knew that was just a bluff. He doesn't have the might to do that. But Paul Kagame is a warmonger and he has the military experience. And he's a mercenary. Whether he's collecting money from Britain to take in refugees, he does everything to make money. This week, he pulled the strings so that his people should make him run again for president. And he's going to win because who's going to oppose him? He controls the security apparatus in the country. He can rig the election so that he would win and nobody else can win. He's a big man, even though the people want a better future and they want to also run for president. Paul Kagame will not let you run for president. If he knows that you are ambitious, he will kill you. Just like he demoted and killed some of the generals who were not supporting him. Now he has announced his candidacy, that in July he's going to be running for president again. So he's going to run for president until he dies. At least people say Paul Kagame has tried to build his country, improve the country, but a constitution should be such that he alone should not be the one who can run for president. Even if he dies today, are you saying Rwanda is not going to move on? If Paul Kagame were not born, there will be no Rwanda? That's the message. No Paul Kagame, no Rwanda. Things have to change. This is an interesting country. This country doesn't have gold. But you see Paul Kagame processing gold in his country, building factories and doing stuff that most African countries are not doing. So he is becoming now like a little colonialist. He's colonizing Congo DRC. The M23 steals the natural resources, the gold, diamond, cobalt from Congo. They take it to Rwanda. Paul Kagame refines these products and sells them in the international market and makes a lot of revenue out of it. That's basically what is happening. When are the Congolese going to be able to build their own army so that they can fight Paul Kagame? That's a question a lot of inquiry minds are asking me. Finally, we take you to Senegal. Senegal has actually maintained a reputation in Africa as the beacon of democracy. Since the days of Leopold Sédar Senghor, the poet and intellectual president, people have really loved the fact that power is always moving from one party to the next. There's been a chain of transfer of power in that country, unlike what obtains in a lot of African countries where there's chaos. After Sédar Senghor, Abdou Diop took over, and there have been transparency, the way things have been going. But Macky Sall decided to break this chain. He came into power because of the democratic gains of Senegal. Yet, when he realized that his party was going to lose the election, he decided to cancel the elections in February. RIP, rest in peace, democracy in Senegal. The people went to the streets and started protesting. Finally, a new date has been set for elections in Senegal, March 24th. So the people are hell-bent to make sure that Macky Sall should leave next month. They want him to leave in April, which is the end of his mandate. They don't want him to extend it by 1 day. They want him to leave in April. And it's going to happen. So we salute the Congolese people for their bravery. Whenever you see the people succeed in fighting a dictator such as Macky Sall, what this tells you is the people have a very professional army. The army does not support the president blindly. The army does not behave like the president's zombies. Whatever the president wants, they do it. In La République du Cameroon, by contrast, the army is Biya's tool. Whatever Biya wants, the army does it. The top guys in the army, they are all from Biya's tribe. So they control every facet of life in La République du Cameroon. By contrast, the army in Senegal is the people's army. When they realize that Macky Sall has done something wrong to the people, the army forced the people now to go to the street and protest, and the army supported the people. So when you see a revolution happening in Senegal, it is because the people are supported by their army. So this is the type of army that we need in Africa, the army that you have in Senegal. The army is for the people. The army is not just there to terrorize the people. So we salute the work of the army in helping the people gain their freedom. Now we're having new polls on March 24, 2024. This is good news. We wish other African countries can emulate the example of Senegal, because a dictator has been defeated once again. Macky Sall has been playing many tricks. First, he wanted to present a third-term agenda. The people kicked against it. Then he sought to change the election, to postpone it until maybe late next year. The people said no. Poll is going to take place on March 24th. We wish other Africans can emulate this, and this will be something positive. So we've presented Africa to you. We're telling you that Africa should not just be a farm for the West. Africa should also become a factory. And this is where industrialization comes in handy. One of the goals of Kwame Nkrumah was to help Ghana become an industrial society. Today we have an information economy. Yet Africa has not even enjoyed the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution needs to happen in Africa. Africa cannot sidestep the Industrial Revolution into the information economy. We need to experience the Industrial Revolution. If we experience the Industrial Revolution, a lot of manufacturing will be taking place in Africa. Look at China. Deng Xiaoping really did a great job. He transformed a communist country by making the economy work with Chinese characteristics. We need to have capitalism with African characteristics. We need to have democracy with African characteristics. This is the only way we can change Africa and avoid all the bloodshed that we see today. This is the only way we can get rid of all the bandits. These bandits and kidnappers we see in Sokoto, in Kaduna, you'll be able to get rid of them if you make crime not to pay. Let us make it in such a way that the average person has a gun. You will not be able to shoot them because they have a gun themselves. We need to arm the schools, okay? Create vigilante groups. Make the people to become responsible for their own security. This is the only way you can keep most of these bandits and kidnappers at bay. Thank you very much for watching our show. Please subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, We stay open all year round in order to serve you. We're located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.